a heartbreaker to the Bills in week one. So much to talk about on this episode of the Purple Pain podcast.
Yeah, man. Welcome back
Yeah,
to yet
there we
another
go.
episode of PRP. Again, like my guy Alex said, the Purple Pain Podcast. I'm your host Sutton Def with my co-host Simply AS10 here, and welcome back to in-season episodes. Let's just start there, right? In-season episodes. We get to talk about the Purple Pain Podcast. We get to talk about actual game stuff that happened recently. We don't have to talk about this press conference or this player being rumored to do. We actually get to talk about real football. So before we get into all of the venting and the therapy session that is going to be this episode, so make sure you stick around, grab your favorite snack, drink, whatever, kick back, relax, because this one's for you, Ravens fans. This one is for you. But yeah, before we get into any of that, though, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you would like to see more Ravens content coming your way. Also, you can make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. Pretty much Purple Rain Podcast anywhere you can find us. We also stream on Kick. Also, shout out to everybody who is listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at. So, to go ahead and kick this one off, Alex, let's just get into it, right? Let's just get into it. The Ravens dropped their season opener last night on Sunday Night Football to the Buffalo Bills, 41-40. That's right, 41-40. It was a 1-point defeat to the Ravens' rival Buffalo Bills, and it was a shocking one, to say the least. It was shocking until it wasn't, right? It was one of those games, me and Alex were kind of talking about it before we went live here, like, as the collapse was happening, like right before the collapse started happening, it was like, this is shocking. Like, why aren't we scoring anymore? I think we scored our final point with like 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, I want to say.
Yep.
That was when we scored our final point. And after the Bills started kind of getting whatever they wanted on offense, it was like, all right, well, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of surprising. But by the end of it, right, we talked about that tip pass that lands in Keon Coleman's hands with like 3 minutes left. You just kind of knew. Like, this Ravens team comes a point in time in these games where you just kind of know when some bullshit is about to happen, basically. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to start off with our name of the game segment. Before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Mod Roosh in the chat. What's going on, Roosh? Appreciate you for coming through. Says, what's good, Rain Gang? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you for popping out on this episode 332 of PRP. But listen, man, the name of the game for this one for me, it's just, it doesn't get any more simple than fourth quarter collapse, conundrum, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like, how many points did the Ravens let up in the fourth quarter, Alex? Wasn't it like 28 or something like that? Or
22.
22 points.
22 points.
You gave up 22 points in the fourth quarter. I think Josh Allen threw for a ridiculous amount of yards in the fourth quarter.
252, I want to say.
252 fourth quarter passing yards for Josh Allen. Just an absolute man. And here we got our first super chat donation of the night. Chike in the house, making it rain with the 20 piece in the chat. Thank you so much, brother. Making it rain, making Lamar dance there. We love it. Chike says the Ravens need a new coach, not only because Harbs has been there far too long, but Sutton brought up identity. We are not a defensive team. We are an offensive team, according to Rex Ryan. Get me Eric Bieniemy, please. Do not care. Ooh, a little hot right there. You got some specifics right there, Chike. What do you think about that, Alex?
I don't want to go too deep into it. I'm going to Eric Bieniemy. Didn't work out with the Commanders. Now he's in college for a reason. Think that ship has sailed. I do agree, though. I'd love to get me an offensive-minded head coach. Getting a guy like a Kevin O'Connell, what the Vikings did. I mean, he had Sam Darnold looking like a Pro Bowler, which he was last year. He got him paid. Something like that, I 100% agree. I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I can agree. I would love to get an offensive-minded head coach because what we have now is not working. And I know I'm gonna get the pushback that, oh, you've won the division the past 2 years, AFC Championship, AFC Divisional. There's obviously limits to this team with John Harbaugh. And I
Right.
think last night, I know I don't know anything, but I want to say that it just feels like sometimes it's not Todd Monken calling the plays, and I just don't know how you go from being kind of aggressive and then very just conservative. Because why are we
Mm,
running a jet sweep with Derrick Henry off the field when you have to get a first down? With all due respect, Justice Hill, how many guys is it going to take to tackle him? One or two, you want to say?
right.
Derrick Henry got to stack that box. So we're going to have Zay Flowers come on a jet sweep. Everybody knows where it's going. You don't have to stack the box for Justice Hill. It's plays like that. It's plays like taking out Derrick Henry just because he fumbled. You have got to get a first down, and Derrick Henry, there is no answer for him. It's playing Daniel Falele to this day still, who was honestly had a big question mark on his head half the game. It's just things like that that just frustrate me with this coach, with this team. Um, I guess we're spoiled that we can complain about this, but when you have
Yeah.
expectations for Super Bowls, stuff like this matters. We're not, with all due respect, not the Panthers, not the Jags, we're not the Browns. We're not these lower end, lower bottom of the tier teams picking first, second, third, fourth, fifth every year. No, we're picking late 20s. We're Super Bowl aspirations. You cannot be collapsing like that. And the worst part is, wasn't surprised. Told you this before the show. How can you be surprised when this happens, every single year, twice, 3 times a year? And DY saying emergency Ravens meeting. This is an emergency Ravens meeting. This is the name of them. Whenever we have losses, this is what me and DY call it, an emergency Ravens meeting.
An ERM. I love it.
Yes. So I'm gonna just I have a list right here. A
Okay.
list right here. Oh, fourth quarter leads blown
Talk to
against
me.
Dolphins,
Yep.
Bills, Giants, Jags, Steelers. Those five,
Jax is nasty.
all in the 22-23 year. Colts, Steelers, Browns on the 23 year. Chiefs, Raiders, Eagles, Bills, all last year. And now the Bills this year. For a veteran head coach, for a top 3 consensus head coach, for, a coach that everybody would love to have, maybe if you're bad. For us at this point, for a coach who I see get scared when he goes against Sean McDermott, Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni, I'm frustrated, man. You can't tell, but I am.
Frustrated isn't even really the word, Alex, to be honest with you. Like I told you again before we went live, like I was just kind of dumbfounded after last night's game. I was just sitting here in my studio room, just kind of like dumbfounded. Like, how does this keep happening to the Ravens? And I know we're talking about coaching right now. Like, do the Ravens need to get John Harbaugh up out of there? Like, is that what we're coming down to right now? John Harbaugh spoke earlier today. He said all the right cookie cutter things that you would say after an embarrassing loss like that, right? But honestly, at this point, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying anything that John Harbaugh has to say until I actually see the Ravens go out there and dominate a good team for 4 quarters of football. For 4 quarters of football. That's what I want to see. And you had guys all over the league, and I was very happy about this, Alex. You had people all over the league calling out the coaching of John Harbaugh and just the coaching of the Ravens in general, because down the stretch of that game, the Ravens got out coached in the worst way. In the worst way. It was bad. I mean, Joe Brady was getting whatever he wanted on offense. Bobby Babbitt's defense was just shutting down the Ravens. Of course, they forced their turnover late in the game. And I'm just like, bro, what happened to the first 2.5 to 3 quarters of this game? We were dominating. Derrick Henry was getting whatever he wanted. In the first half, Derrick Henry was running for 14 yards a pop, 14 yards a carry, Alex. And he finishes the game with almost 200 yards rushing. I know that. But at the same time, we lost the game. And that's impossible. It does not happen. There was a crazy stat earlier that said, teams that score 40 plus points and have over 230 rushing yards in a single game, before last night, those teams were 277-0. They had never
one,
lost.
one more time for me.
Okay. Teams that put up 40 points in a game and rush for over 230 yards before last night, those teams were 277-0. That was their record. And
Goose
so the
egg.
Ravens, goose egg, the Ravens are literally breaking records. They're making history in the worst way possible. And all you can really boil it down to is the coaching. There was another one. There was another one, right? Let me see. What was the stat? What was the stat? I read it to you before we went live here. John Harbaugh has blown 17 double-digit second half leads. That's the most by any coach since at least 1991. And you know what Harbaugh said? Do you know what Harbaugh said? Harbaugh said today, he was like, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we're winning a lot. And I'm like, bro, are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? We got our guy Engraven Vids in the house. What's going on, Engraven? As for the link, you want to come up here? You want to chat it out with us, man? I mean, I wouldn't mind. Simply, is that okay with you? If Engraven comes on
That's
up here?
I'll have to keep it clean. I think I got my curse words out for the day. I'll be honest with you. I think they're all out of my system. And last night,
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
But I will. I
Okay.
would keep it clean.
I'll go ahead and I'll send you the link, bro. I'll send you the link. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And we talked about the name of the game, right? We talked about name of
Yes.
the game. I would say this. My name of the game is not just fourth quarter collapse. It's also same old Ravens, quote unquote, same old Ravens. You remember back in 2018 when Eric Weddle said that?
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of going back to right now. Like Eric Weddle had said that because there were some of the same things that are happening now were happening then. There were fourth quarter collapses. The defense couldn't stop a runny nose, at certain points in the game, especially late in the game. And, the Ravens actually did win a good game. And Eric Weddle came out and said, this ain't the same old Ravens. But now you fast forward 7 years later, the Ravens are still dealing with the same issues that they were before. They're still dealing with it. So I don't really know what to I don't know what to I don't know what to say really. I don't know what the Ravens do because I think that the Ravens have all the faith in the world in John Harbaugh. And at this point, I don't, they just extended him, right? But I don't know, man. I'm just at a loss for words for the most part. We'll go ahead and we'll get through some more of the crazy stats that came out of this game. Let me actually see what I have in here because some very good points were made. Let's actually go over the top PFF grades really quick. I just want to run through
Okay.
these really quick. Give some attaboys here. On offense, the top 5 players rated on offense were Tyler Linderbaum with an 87.4 grade, Ronnie Stanley with an 87 grade, Zay Flowers with an 83.8 grade, DeAndre Hopkins with an 83.7 grade, and Lamar Jackson with a 79.2 grade. So, and noticeably, all of those players played really well last night, I thought. The left side of the offensive line, I thought looked good. It was the right side that was really, giving us issues pretty much the entire night. Roger Rosengarten did not have the best showing last night. Of course, Daniel Falele, he struggled in spots too. So that didn't really look good at all. But the left side of that offensive line, I was pretty pleased with, Alex. What say you about the O-line, though?
We know what the big question mark was. Rosengarten obviously didn't have his best night, I'd say, either. So that right side definitely struggled. Got to agree with you. Left side looked good. Center as well. I was a little nervous. I know how loud it gets, in Buffalo. I thought the snaps from Linderbaum didn't
Mm-hmm.
have any trouble with them. I'm happy with that. So, what we were worried about came to fruition in week 1. I'm not surprised. You're not surprised. I can tell you that right now. I know you're not surprised. So
No.
same old, same old. What we're like, we didn't even try to improve it in the offseason. Maybe sign a free agent to give him competition. No, Flele, you won the job. You have it. Cool. I said it last night on Twitter. Living and dying by Daniel Flele is certainly a choice. If that's a choice that Mr. Harbaugh wants to make, be my guest. But our quarterback got absolutely laid out last night by Ed Oliver on a very
Yep.
bad play,
Yep.
which is why I think the cramping stuff, I think he was 100%. He got absolutely, what is the word to say? Because it wasn't a big hit. It was more than a big hit. He got rocked.
Yeah.
Like,
He got
just,
decleated.
yes. Like, probably wind out the system type, how big that hit was. So
Yeah.
just, you can't be having that. But Zay Flowers, I think a little part of me believes that the way we were using him was like a big FU to the Bills. Like, you're lucky he wasn't here in January. Because Zay, I think that was his best game as a Raven to this day. He was the yak. Everything we asked him to do, there was no like left, right, left, right. It was just north, and you could
Yeah.
see how fast he is, and he had so much yak. Like that is all we asked for from him. So I'm very pleased with his performance. I think what's his name, 84, that tight end. I was pleased with the way he was blocking for Derrick Henry. I think he
Yeah.
he he filled in pretty well for likely in a blocking sense. Even Kolar came out for a bit. But there's one guy I want to give a special shout out to on the defense. I feel like you were the only one who was not playing like a headless chicken. Kyle Hamilton. Thank you for
Yeah.
showing up yesterday.
He had the highest grade on defense, by the way, 93.4.
It's the fact that he damn near almost blocked that field goal.
Yes.
Playing with the messed up hand. He was the only one I felt like who really came to work on that defense. I don't want to put too much on Jair. I think even playing him that much was a mistake. He's not 100%. He has not practiced in 3 weeks. So you're still an all-pro. You got to be doing better than that. But Kyle Hamilton, like, we have a gem on our hands. I just couldn't be happier with him. I thought he played flawless.
Yeah. Kyle Hamilton, he, again, absolute unicorn, just got paid. He showed why last night. He was doing everything. He was doing absolutely everything. What kind of flew under the radar from Kyle Hamilton last night was he actually forced a fumble, right?
Yep.
One of the Ravens who came this close to forcing a turnover. It was between him, Awuzie almost had a pick, Malachi Starks almost had a pick early in the game. But Kyle Hamilton forcing that fumble, I mean, that was huge. And we've seen him force a fumble like that before on, who was it? I think it was in the playoff game, right?
The Bengals, Hayden Hurst.
Right. Yeah. It was the same thing. It was like deja vu almost, Alex, to be honest with you. But no, Kyle Hamilton, he looked really, really good. It did look like when I was watching the broadcast, it looked like he got a fingertip on that ball. Like as I was watching it, of course, like that hope left me very, very quickly because the ball went through the uprights. But I was watching it like, oh, like I clutched my pearls for a second because I expected the Ravens to lose at that point. But I clutched my pearls for a second. I was like, no way Kyle Hamilton got that good a burst off the line like that. That was crazy to me. Let me see. We got my guy backstage. I think he might still be getting ready here. Let me see what we got here. Let me switch us over. Yeah, let's switch us over here.
There we go.
Hey,
okay.
What's
there going on?
There we go.
Hey, it's the same old stuff. How y'all doing, man?
Doing all right. We're getting along. We could be a lot better. We really could, man. But we're glad you're here. Perfect time to kind of get out all of our thoughts. It's kind of like a big therapy session for the Ravens blog, Ravens community. So let's just start it off with this, Engraven. How are you feeling? Almost a day removed from the Ravens' first loss of the season. How are you feeling right now?
I'm cool, man. I'm cool. It was disappointing. The loss sucked. What's crazy is, well, I guess it ain't even crazy. I remember when we went up 40-25. It was exciting. It was all happy and stuff. But I was telling people like, look, I ain't too excited right now, man. Like I'm excited, but I can't trust no 15-point lead with all this time left on the clock. We done seen this story before, and I was hoping it was gonna be different. I was thinking it was gonna be different, but it ended up being the same old thing, which was unfortunate. But after that loss, like it continued to show a lot of the issues that the Baltimore Ravens have. Probably the biggest surprise to me, and I think to probably most people, was the defense. With the defense, like Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, Nani Matabike, Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, Jair Alexander, Nate Wiggins, like it's a long list of players that we got on the defense that's nice. So to give up 41 points, like I think it was even crazy if they would have even given up 30 points. 25, that's pushing it, but all right, that's reasonable. First game, but 41 points, man. You gave up 41 points. And what made that worse for me is that this defense is a defense that it's not brand new. It's the same defense that you had last year, same defensive coordinator as last year. He started off shaky at the beginning of last season, but got it going toward the end of last year. And so I'm thinking, all right, the transition going to be smooth. It's going to be nice. We're going to be good, but it wasn't at all. And there was no excuse for it. There was no excuse for the defense being as bad as they were, in my opinion. It was just none. So that was just a really, really bad performance from the defense last night. But you got a big opportunity to have a bounce back game against Joe Flacco and the Browns. Josh Allen, Joe Flacco doesn't present nearly as many challenges as Josh Allen does. And Browns are obviously a much worse team. So you can have a nice confidence boost game heading into that Detroit game coming up against the Browns. But yeah, the defense, they let me down big time. But The bright note was the offense for the most part. The offense, they kept feeding Derrick Henry for the most part. There was some glimpses where they didn't. The passing game was going. Lamar, again, showed that chemistry with his different receivers. They were spreading the ball around. And yeah, they were scoring. They scored 40 points. Like if your offense scores 40 points, you should win that game, no problem. That should be a win every single time. But in this case, it wasn't. And I appreciate you bringing out that historic stat that the Baltimore Ravens made last night. They made a bunch of history last night, but they were on the wrong side of history last night too.
Man. Oh, son, your mic's muted.
Oh, don't tell me I done messed up everybody's sounds.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my fault. That's on me. That's on me. My apologies. Oh, Sutton, my fault, man. I ain't mean
to.
to.
The Ravens defense. Oh man. Come on now.
Oh.
I'll pull it up here. Andrew says IMO. Ravens are scoring too quick. Defense was on the field way too long. That 4th and 2 tip that Coleman caught was the backbreaker. Was downhill from there. And I agree. I think you make a good point. Scoring way too quick. It was what Lamar just freaking makes a Houdini Madden play. Makes two guys run into each other. Runs upfield. Next play, Derrick Henry does Derrick Henry things. Gone, touchdown, and now your defense is right back on the field. So that's a good point there. I didn't really think about that. Defense probably was gassed, and I know Tirico and Collinsworth talking about the D-line was like hockey. The line switches. 4 guys off, 4 guys on. Those guys getting gassed. That 4th down, yeah.
But what would you do in that situation, though? Like, do you say, all right, offense, don't score too quick, slow down. But what if you don't score at all? What if you start being kind of conservative and be like, run the ball, but just don't run it too hard. Throw the ball, but don't throw it too far downfield. Like, how are you scoring too quick? I would disagree with that. I don't think they were scoring too quick because you trying to run up the game, you trying to run up them points, and you should be able to rely on your defense to get a stop. Especially in that situation. And what made it worse, in my opinion, is that it was 4th quarter. You up 15. And so, they got to pass the ball. So it's like, oh, yeah, this is an easy game for the Ravens. The Bills just got to pass the ball. All we got to do is play some good defense, get a couple stops and make it happen. But they just didn't. Oh, there you go, son. He back. Okay, there we go. All right.
Yeah, we good. Little setback there, but the devil is a liar. So we're going to go ahead and keep it moving here. So, I mean, but I love what you guys are saying here, man. I think the defense, of course, had a generational meltdown last night.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that, I want to say, a lot of people I saw today were attributing that to the fact that the Ravens just played super duper soft, the super soft coverage. Mm-hmm. They played scared. They played like they weren't trying to lose, right? Instead of trying to win. And that's like a big thing that we've seen this Ravens team do time and time again, year after year. And it's all under the common denominator of John Harbaugh's regime, right? So the title of this episode, Engraven, and I actually want to go to you first on this one, Alex.
Oh,
what? Okay, let me phrase it like this. Does John Harbaugh need to go? Does Steve Bisciotti need to kind of rethink that extension that he gave to Harbaugh? Because if I'm Steve Bisciotti and I'm waking up this morning, I'm asking myself, how many more times do I have to go through this? How many more times do I have to accept the fact that Eric is doing a phenomenal job putting this team together brick by brick, and he has been since he's been GM. But John Harbaugh has still not been able to capitalize and get me another Super Bowl ring to my franchise when we have the best quarterback in the world. On paper, we have the best defense in the league. And everything on paper, again, I know football's not played on paper. We saw that last night firsthand. But everything points towards the Ravens being a lot more successful and a lot more dominant than they are. So, Alex, I want to ask you this, and then I want Engraven to give his opinions as well. But, Alex, do you think that Harbaugh needs to go? Point blank, period.
Right now? Or can I wait
right now?
The season? Right now, it's not going to happen. No, I don't think he has to. I think we're too good of a team to just kind of go that way. Do I want it to happen? Do I want to change? I've been saying that. I would love a change. But as of right now, I don't think you can, because what's that say to the rest of the team? You're giving up on your coach after one game this year. I know we've seen it, and I pulled out that stat of all these games we've blown up and blown and blown, but I have to be rational in the sense, like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Engraven, your thoughts? So, and let me actually rephrase it just a step further. So maybe not right now. Maybe I'm overreacting just a little bit. as an angsty Ravens fan.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe after this season, is it time to just like kind of like amicably part ways with John Harbaugh? Because it's, I mean, it happens, right? It happened with Andy Reid. It happened with Bill Belichick. I mean, they move on from these Hall of Fame coaches when things get stale. It feels like things are getting stale right now. And Graven, do you think that John Harbaugh should continue being the Ravens head coach after this season?
What's crazy about that question, I remember when he got his extension this offseason, I was highly against that. And not because I necessarily wanted him fired, but I'm like, all right, I do not think giving him an extension would be a good idea, because it's like saying, all right, hey, you've had some excellent teams, some excellent rosters. You ain't got the job done, and you ain't had no excuses to not get the job done, but we're going to give you an extension anyway. I think they should have let him play out the last year of his contract. And I thought this even years ago when they gave him that previous extension. John Harbaugh's leash is extremely long. I don't think it should be, but it is. And like Simply said, we know that John Harbaugh, he ain't going anywhere. When he does leave, it's 9 times out of 10 it's going to be on his own terms. But Ravens, they have him in a comfort zone right now to where he can keep getting away with it. I mean, he does keep getting away with it. These teams have severely underachieved, and it's been a lot of the same stuff over and over. Sometimes it's different stuff, but they lose creatively. But the one common denominator, the thing that's been that one constant has been John Harbaugh. We've had different offensive coordinators. It's been the same thing. We've had different defensive coordinators. It's been the same thing. We've had different personnel here and there, but it's been the same result every time. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. So I would not be opposed to the Baltimore Ravens going in another direction after this season if they did not get it done. Hopefully we don't even have to have that conversation. Hopefully we all celebrating at the end of the year like, oh, man, remember back in week 1, it was looking ugly after that Bills game. But, man, look how this season turned out. We're holding up a Super Bowl trophy. That's what we all want. But with John Harbaugh, I just think that it wouldn't be a bad thing if the Ravens were to move on from John Harbaugh after this year if they come up short yet again. And I know what a lot of people say. One of the first things that so many people say, oh, well, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. And if not John Harbaugh, then who? But my response to that is it would be extremely tough, very, very tough for a head coach, a new head coach to come in where they have Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, most likely Isaiah Likely, maybe even Charlie Kohler, Ronnie Stanley, hopefully Tyler Linderbaum, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith will probably still be here, Nnamdi Madubuike, Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey. Like, it would be very, very hard for a new head coach to come in and have all those core guys and fail. It'd be really, really tough for him to do that. And even tougher for him to just do a terrible job, to have a losing record, because you have some very, very special players. And like you brought up too, it happened with Andy Reid. He was over there in Philly, and he was doing this thing in Philly. He was getting close, but just couldn't close it out. And then he got fired, went to the Chiefs, and now he's been closing too much. It's like he's annoying. He won't go away. And then you even look at the team that beat him last year in the Super Bowl, the Eagles. The Eagles, what's crazy about them, they won a Super Bowl back, 2017 season, I think? Yep. They won the Super Bowl. A couple years later, they fired their Super Bowl coach. And then Nick Sirianni comes in. He has success. He gets to a Super Bowl. He loses. And they're like, all right, we'll give you some more time. Then he gets to the Super Bowl again and wins. So Philly showed you, like, look, so two different, and this is all while the Baltimore Ravens, they won a Super Bowl in the 2012 season. So Philly has been back to the Super Bowl, 3 times since the Ravens last won their Super Bowl years ago. They've been back 3 times with 2 different head coaches, 2 different ones. And we still got the same coach. Which, okay, cool, you're going to keep y'all. But they just came up short. So when people say, oh, if not John Harbaugh, then who? it's other people that could get the job done. It ain't like, oh, John Harbaugh is the end all be all. Love John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, cool. He's a very nice person, and I think he's a very good coach. But he definitely has his deficiencies, and the deficiencies that keep showing themselves. The clock management, I think that's been one of the biggest ones. And obviously, just finishing, closing, sealing the deal. That's been the other big one. And they keep showing up at the worst moments. So if the Baltimore Ravens did come up short this year, yeah, I would still be on the train. All right, John Harbaugh, thanks for everything, but I think we should go in another direction. And another thing, a lot of people always say, oh, if John Harbaugh got fired, he'd get picked up in a second. Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But Ravens, like, they've been at it since 2008. It's 2025 now. It's getting ready to be, what's that, 16 years? No, I feel like no, that's long. I'm tripping. I feel like I'm doing the math wrong. It's been longer than 16 years.
Since the Super Bowl?
Oh, no, 17 years. 17, yeah.
Oh, wait.
There we go. Wow, 17 years. Yeah. I knew something was off with that. But, yeah, I just feel like it would be just fine if they moved on from John Harbaugh because they got the roster to get it done. They got the personnel to get it done. And a breath of fresh air could be a really, really good thing for these Ravens, man.
Facts. 100%.
How do you follow that up?
100%. Yeah, I don't know. Well,
Good luck.
Here's the thing. I will say this. We got a super chat donation. I want to get into something very, very important, and I talked about it earlier today on the pod as well. But this is from DWAS. Thank you so much for the 2-piece in the chat, dropping the super chat, making it rain here on this episode of PRP. Says, do you miss Denard Wilson? Of course, former Ravens secondary coach Denard Wilson, now the defensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, who I actually thought played pretty well yesterday, the Tennessee Titans, all things considered. Cam Ward, they looked pretty good against the Denver Broncos, just could not close it out at the end. But do you miss, and Alex, I'll throw it to you first on this one, do you miss Denard Wilson in the building?
I, of course, miss it because let's talk about how many interceptions we were getting. We had Geno Stone with 7 or 8 picks. Like, I love that. We had our third-string safety leading the league in interceptions. We had Brandon Stevens catching interceptions. Brandon Stevens catching interceptions. It was great. And I think, arguably, Marlon Humphrey was probably our second or third best corner that year. And Ronald Darby was playing great. Whatever Denard Wilson did with us, I do miss it, yes. I do think that Chuck Pagano, I think they'll get it right. But what really frustrates me, and you brought up Engrave, the offense should be scoring. Why? Because we have a ton of valuable assets in the secondary. 5 first-round picks, a lot of money, a lot of all-pros, a lot of Pro Bowls back there, a lot of potential back there. Your defense should be stopping them. So I do miss Denard Wilson, and I do miss a little bit of the aggressive approach that Wink brought. Not all of it, but it feels like we went from very aggressive with Wink to Mike McDonald getting it perfectly right, and now just very conservative with Zach Orr.
Oh, wow.
I saw a lot of, I think on Twitter, a lot of said we're running cover 6. And I felt that 252 yards Josh Allen got in the fourth quarter was way too easy.
That's crazy.
Open, nonstop, out routes, and just very, very, very just give them as much cushion as they wanted. Like, we're letting Josh Palmer, with all due respect, Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir.
That's crazy.
Let's say you make it to the Super Bowl, all right? A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, John Mechie. Different tiers, man. It's just, you cannot be playing those guys like that. Very conservative approach.
Crazy. I love how you brought that up. That's such a good point. How they went from just being super aggressive, extra aggressive with Wink, sometimes too aggressive, and aggressive to where a lot of times he didn't learn from his mistakes and he kept doing them over and over. But yeah, Mike McDonald, it took him a little bit, but once he got it, and that was it. Like, they was on point. That's such a good point. But now they have been very, very conservative, sort of laid back, relaxed, and just taking a very soft approach. Man, you broke that down perfectly. I never thought about that before until now. But and Sutton, I appreciate you bringing up Denard Wilson because I feel like he doesn't get enough praise and as much praise as he deserves for what he was to these Baltimore Ravens, and simply talked about Brandon Stevens specifically. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in football, to where a player has such an amazing season. Brandon Stevens was, do we want to say lockdown? I mean, we can't, but Brandon Stevens was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was excellent, amazing. But then last year, I was, what happened? It was such a drop off. And I remember just thinking throughout the season, what could it be? What changed? What would happen with him? And I know, hey, we got a different defensive coordinator, but was it that significantly different? I know Zach Orr was on the staff with Mike McDonald, but yeah, the secondary coach, Denard Wilson, I think he made that much of a significant impact on this team and really the secondary overall, because the whole secondary was just, it was rough, especially them first 10 weeks. It was very, very ugly. Um, so yeah, I think we certainly miss Denard Wilson a lot, and he don't get enough credit for he don't get nearly as much credit as he deserves.
Yeah. Real quick, we got another super chat donation. This one's coming from Rod Wave. Thank you so much, Rod Wave, making it rain here on this episode 332 of the Purple Rain podcast. Dropped a 5-piece in here. It says Super Bowl window closed in 2023. I support Lamar. He is from Broward County, but this team chokes. I mean, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I love the support. You're giving the hometown shout out. Appreciate that always. But yeah, man, you're absolutely right. This team does choke, and it's actually quite frustrating to see. And I talked about this yesterday when I did my instant reaction. I said, the Ravens kind of have this way, right? And as Ravens fans, and if you've been a Ravens fan for, I'd say maybe at least the last 10 years or so, there comes a point in a Ravens game where for a fact whether or not they're going to lose. And you can just kind of feel it, right? You can feel it in your chest. It's like, okay, things aren't going our way. I don't really see us turning this around, right? I was kind of trying to speak it into existence watching it on the TV last night. It was like 3 minutes left, right? And they're driving down the field. And I'm saying to myself, because I was watching the game with a Bills fan. I was actually over the house of a Bills fan watching the game.
Ooh.
And I'm just saying out loud, trying to speak it into existence. I'm like, I feel a turnover coming. I smell a turnover coming. You know what I mean? I just know Kyle Hamilton or Odafe Owe or one of these guys is about to get a strip, something like that, but it just never came to fruition. And the fact that the Ravens cannot kind of capitalize in those big moments. And in fact, they actually start giving the ball up themselves. Again, Derrick Henry had the fumble late in that game, basically because of Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver just completely wrecked this game.
Baller.
I think it was honestly less of a choke job. More of it was actually like Ed Oliver in this defense showing up and absolutely showing out. There was at least 4 to 5 plays minimum that Ed Oliver made that were just like highlight plays that changed the course of the game. When we're talking about that play where Derrick Henry fumbles, right? Roger Rosengarten had the primary assignment on Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver just ripped right through him. If we rewind to the first quarter, I think it was the Ravens' first or second drive. I want to say it was their second drive. The one where they had to settle for 3. No.
The sack?
Yeah. It was the sack.
I think it was second drive.
Yep.
Yeah, second drive. That one, Ed Oliver went right through Daniel Falele, right? And let's jump way ahead to the very end of the game, right? 3rd and 9. Ravens need a first down to ice the game. What happens? Can you guess what happens? Well, guess what? It was a completion to DeAndre Hopkins. He was about 2-3 yards short of the line to gain. But guess what happened as soon as Lamar Jackson let go of that football? He got absolutely popped, annihilated by none other than Ed Oliver. So hard to the point where Lamar Jackson, he turned into a completely different person for like a minute or two. Because any other time, the Lamar Jackson that I know, he is not even considering coming off of that field on 4th and 2, 4th and 3 with the game on the line. But Lamar Jackson is walking to the sidelines like kind of wincing like, we need to punt this, put it in the defense's hands, And I can't blame Lamar Jackson. I really can't blame Lamar Jackson for that. I could get into, well, maybe if some of these guys got some preseason reps, some live game preseason reps, we wouldn't be experiencing these type of things in the season to start it off. That's another story for another day. But I'm rapping too much. I'm rambling too much. I want to get to the next segment of the show because this is more so about John Harbaugh, and I want to kind of focus on the coaching of this team. I see my guy Keeping It Real is in the chat as well. What's going on, KIR? Appreciate you for coming through. Let me go ahead and transition us into this topic. Rodney Harrison is a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and he had a lot to say about this Baltimore Ravens team, and more specifically, this Ravens coaching regime and what they've got going on right now in Baltimore. Let's go ahead and let's take a listen. Transition here. There we go.
Do they have an opportunity to do some special things? Looking at Coach
Go ahead,
Harbaugh,
rewind that.
excuse me, I'm looking at Coach Harbaugh, and he has to continue to emphasize finishing. And that's something that comes from the head coach. And this just cannot, I mean, they're too talented of a team. This is their Super Bowl window. They have an opportunity to do some special things. And when I see them falling short like this, it's just an undisciplined team. They get comfortable, and they just need that head coach to continue to put that pressure on them and say, guys, you can never get comfortable. I don't care if you have a 15-point lead. You got to continue to finish. And I think that comes from the head coach.
And you had mentioned already this season, you felt like that had been some of their shortcomings, in particular in the playoffs, was some of those similar mistakes. Is that some of the same things you saw tonight?
Yeah, it's just it's a mindset. Okay, whether you're up 15 points or not, you can never relax. You can never just say, Coach, okay, we're good. It's only 4 minutes left. You're playing against Josh Allen. You're playing against a team that's super explosive. They got an unbelievable quarterback that. They always believe that he can get it done, Coach.
Yep, no doubt about it. And again, when you talk about discipline, you talk about doing things right, and they didn't do it when it counted. In those last 5 minutes of the game, they didn't execute.
And some of the players have to be accountable.
Yeah.
I talked to Jair Alexander. He said, I'm ready. I'm ready to play. I'm going to play 20, 25 plays. That's half. You got to be ready. When your name is called, you have to be ready. And if you don't have post safety help, what are you doing playing outside technique, giving up the inside? It's those little things, but that comes from an experienced defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? So
details.
The small details, and that's the difference between winning a championship and just being an MVP and not winning a championship.
For sure. And as good of a game as Derrick Henry had, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when this thing's all said and done. That is a two hands on the football, as tight as you can get it scenario. Without that fumble, they're probably still going to put this game away.
But I also felt like the defense, they were doing the same thing, just conservative, cover two, no pressures, nothing exotic, no moving around. It was just a base defense. And once again, defensive coordinator Zach Orr, I think he's grown as a defensive coordinator, but he has to get better. He has to understand his personnel better, and he has to understand the opposing team's personnel.
All right. So you guys get the gist there. That was a two-time Super Bowl champion, Rodney Harrison, along with Super Bowl winning coach Tony Dungy as well. So, all right. And I think Engraven, okay, your mic's good now. It's unmuted now. So, what do you think? Let's just dive into that. I mean, a lot of stuff about coaching philosophy. Rodney Harrison was saying that, mentally, it's a mental thing that the Ravens are missing right now. Obviously, they have everything that they need on paper, right? They have the best running back, or one of the best running backs, one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best defenses, all of this stuff. But it seems like there's a mental blockage right there for the Ravens. And I'm so glad that national media is kind of waking up to it. But Engraven, what are your thoughts when you hear something like this from Rodney Harrison?
You said it, man. You're glad that national media is waking up to it. This has been a conversation amongst Ravens fans for years, literal years. We've all been talking about this, some more than others, but it's been a conversation that's been happening for a long time now. Like, hey, look at John Harbaugh, because obviously for the longest, the media, they point the blame directly at Lamar Jackson. Even if he does everything right in the game, hey, it's Lamar Jackson's fault. But Harbaugh just kept getting off year after year after year after year after year. And there would be some clear coaching malfunctions that we would see, but they still be like, nah, hey, that's on Lamar Jackson. It's his fault. He got to step it up. But now, media is seeing it and they recognize it and they actually calling it out, which is crazy. It's like one of those things that you never thought you would see happen. It's actually been going down. So for Harbaugh to actually be commanding attention from the media is just crazy. And something else too, it's like even a lot of Ravens fans, because Ravens fans, obviously with a touchy subject like John Harbaugh, a lot of Ravens fans are usually divided on that one. As you can understand, that's a head coach. But yesterday and today, I've just seen so many Ravens fans be united. Not necessarily saying, oh, fire John Harbaugh, but looking at John Harbaugh like, hey, like, why is this keep happening under or on your watch? Like, what's going on? So people are seeing it. People are recognizing it, and they're seeing those same consistencies that the Baltimore Ravens just continue to have, and that just Harbaugh is a big part of it. With him being a head coach, everything starts with him. So I really hope, because again, obviously he's not going anywhere right now. But I really hope that this can serve not only as a wake up call, but just like some serious, significant changes can be made internally with the Baltimore Ravens. Not anybody getting fired, because again, that we know that's not happening right now. But they can really look at themselves and be like, "Hey, I need to be more accountable. You know what? I keep messing up. How can I help myself with this? How can I get help with this? How can I fix all these issues that I just continue to keep having?" I don't know if y'all remember. It was, I want to say, it wasn't this past off season. I think it was the off season before last. Do y'all remember when it came out that the Ravens had hired a, I think it was a time management coach or like a clock coach.
Mm,
Remember that?
Mm. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I do.
yeah.
and everybody was like, "What? How are you a head coach and you need help with time management and clock man?" And we never heard of
Mm.
it again after that. We never heard anything of it again after that. So
That's true.
it was just a really interesting time as a Ravens fan. It's like, wow, it's like so they see it, and they addressed it, but then they were like, oh, you know what? No, we ain't doing that no more. But yeah, I'm glad that the national media they catching wind of this whole thing.
For sure, for sure. And Alex, really quick before I toss it to you, I want to bring up the fact that so many people for so long, and even still to this day, because I saw a lot of pushback on Twitter earlier today, people kind of still defending John Harbaugh, saying things like, "Oh, well, he's not the one who fumbled, right? He's not the one who, you know, this and that." Basically, kind of putting the onus all on the players. But I think about when Derrick Henry scored his last touchdown, right, with 12 minutes left to go in the ball game, and the Ravens went up 15 points. It was 40-25. Now, mind you, again, the Ravens are up 15 points, and they go out there to kick an extra point to put them up 16, which is still 2 possessions. And of course, Luke misses, right? And that's another story for another day. But had the Ravens, had John Harbaugh in that moment, went for 2, that would have made the most sense, because there's a huge difference between a 2-possession game and a 3-possession game. You know, like that was one of like the coaching blunders to me. Another one for me was right before the first half ended, when we are trying to stop Josh Allen, the offense, from getting into field goal range to get a last second field goal. It was 2nd and 10 with 5 seconds left.
That was crazy.
And the Ravens rushed no one. All
That's
11
crazy.
guys were dropped back into coverage, and Josh Allen still found his guy on the sideline, perfect timing, and they get up there and they kick the field goal. So I like, there's multiple things that you can point to, and you can just kind of like snap your fingers and go, "Hey, that's on you, Harbs. That's on John Harbaugh." You know, and like that's why I think we're kind of starting to see some of the national media kind of catch on to it, because some of the mistakes were just glaring last night to me. But Alex, what are your whole thoughts on this, as we have over 100 people watching live? What are your whole thoughts on the whole John Harbaugh situation and the coaching blunders, everything?
All right. Let me try to be the most cool, calm, collective I can be. What really got me upset today, I think, was they talked about the whole Kyle Hamilton, the whole 2-point conversion, flip it back.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah. Raven knows what I'm about to say.
Oh yeah.
So Harbaugh said he questioned whether Kyle Hamilton graduated from Notre Dame when he lateraled the 2-point interception.
Ooh.
He thought that was one of the most foolish things he's ever seen. Close my phone. Put my phone down. Foolish things, brother. I've seen Tua turn the ball over in our house, come back 4 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Last night, we had no reason losing that game. Foolish things. Don't make me pull out all the John Harbaugh, just the skunk face screenshots. Like, please don't, because that is the most, like, when that face comes out, you know it's a foolish thing. And just out of anybody you call out, it's arguably the second best player on the team, the best non-quarterback on the team, the best player that is not your quarterback on the team is Kyle Hamilton. You come at him for that, you can just say, bad play. He knows, not to do that on the next. But to call it the most foolish thing and to question whether or not he graduated from school, a little bit of self-awareness goes a long way, John. And that's one of my gripes with him. This guy can do no wrong. I just want to see him take a little bit of accountability. And I think that's a huge thing I value in myself and other people, is just accept when you're wrong. I just don't see it from him ever. I've never seen him just take the blame for the fall. It's always something else. It's always somebody else. I trust my defense. Well, look at yourself and say, maybe you should keep your quarterback on the field, or maybe, just do something different. I'm just very tired of the excuses with him, and it's just never he does something wrong, and I see why people feel the way they do and why we felt the way we do for the longest. So didn't want to curse, I didn't curse, but I'm just frustrated. I really am. I am, man.
Oh yeah.
It's
Head's
tough.
gone. Head's hot.
It's a rough day here for us Baltimore Ravens fans. I mean, especially after waiting the entire off season, and here's where I kind of have some concern. I have some legitimate worry because last year we saw the same exact thing happen to the Ravens in Week 1. They were waiting all off season to play this team that just bounced them out of the playoffs the year before. And in that Week 1 matchup, they lose a heartbreaker at the very last moment, pretty much, to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And so fast forward a year later, here we are again playing a team that just bounced us out of the playoffs. We lose that game, so it's an emotional dump, right? I was listening to, and this is kind of unrelated, I was listening to Kyle Van Noy's podcast right before we went live, actually. And Kyle Van Noy, I think he recorded this last night after he got home or whatever, but he just sounded absolutely just like dejected. Like again, I think that this loss has the potential to carry over into Week 2, because if you remember Week 2 from last year, right? We went out there and we thought we all thought that we were going to wipe the floor with the Las Vegas Raiders. And what happened? We found ourselves in a dogfight by the end of it, and we lost that one. So now we're going into Week 2 against the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, who just lost by 1 point yesterday to the Cincinnati Bengals. If you don't think that they're going to be scrappy and ready to beat the Ravens like they did last year in week whatever it was when they had Jameis Winston starting at quarterback, I don't know what to tell you, man. I think that the Ravens are really staring down some legit trouble if they do not win this game against Cleveland. And it's very possible that they could drop that one because of everything that was poured into last night's game. But after Cleveland, it doesn't get any easier, right? You got Detroit, you got Kansas City, you got Houston, you got LA, the Rams. Like it's tough sledding from here on out. So what is kind of the outlook, right? What is the outlook from here going forward? Of course, Week 2, Browns is coming up. Of course, all the players are going to say, we'll be ready. We were ready last week, but, this time we're going to go out there, home opener. It's going to be great, yada, yada, yada. What do you think kind of like the mindset and the message is, to the team right now going into this Week 2 matchup? Because it seems like the Ravens are still fighting so many demons right now. The Ravens are fighting demons. So, like, how do they kind of, like, get past that mentally, right? It has to be a coaching thing, no?
No, for sure. And I think this Week 2 game, it's just like you said. Like, we were thinking the same thing last year. They came out, they had that heartbreak against Kansas City. Oh, yeah, Raiders, we got them. We're going to be straight. And they came up short. But, it's got to be the same mentality going into this Browns game. Like this, you got to have a bounce-back game, right? It's going to be another, I guess, a semi-emotional game. It'll be Flacco first time back in the building ever since he left. But you need this. You need this bad, especially for the way that previous game went. But, again, because you have some tough games. Now, say, for instance, Ravens go and they blow out the Browns. We'll be happy. We'll be glad. But at the same time, be like, hold up, that's the Browns. So it's like expected that you will blow them out. But then a real test comes, another real test comes the following week against the Lions. Then you got another test that comes the following week against the Chiefs. So it don't get no easier. So this Browns, not that it's a gimme game, because it ain't no gimme games in the NFL. I mean, especially for the Baltimore Ravens, as we know. But this is a game that you would be expected to win. But in my opinion, and it's like I hate to say this, but I feel like it's true. If the Ravens go out there, again, they punch the Browns in the mouth, take care of business, I don't feel like it will really be that big of a deal. It'll be important because you want to win every single game. So that's important. But it's like that's what's expected. Obviously, we wish they would have handled business against the Bills last night. But if you go out there and beat the Browns, it'll be like, oh, okay, what does that really prove? So let's see how they do against the Lions, and let's see how they do against the Chiefs. Obviously, they can't look too far ahead. We can, because we ain't out there on the field. We can look as far ahead as we want to. But let's see how they do against the Browns, and hopefully they do have a bounce-back game and a confidence booster for everybody, because they need it right now, especially on defense. Defense, they need to get like 5-6 sacks. They need to get at least like 2-3 interceptions against Joe Flacco and them. They need it bad to just say, hey, okay, no, our defense can be nice. So going into that Lions game, with the world watching again on Monday Night Football, you could be like, oh, Lions coming in our house, you know what, let's take care of business. So while this Browns game, it might not say a lot about who this Baltimore Ravens team really is, they still do need it as bad as ever.
Facts.
That's a
Yeah,
great point.
100%. 100%.
And
Go ahead, Alex.
and you bring it up to division. Like there's no easy game in the AFC North. Jameis Winston beat us last year. Like Kenny Pickett is 2-0 against the Ravens.
Oh, that's
Like
crazy. Yeah.
that is insane to me. Kenny Pickett. So there's no gimme games in this division, and you got to win your division first, and then you can worry about the playoffs. So winning this, we can blow them out 45-7. I'm still gonna come here. Good win, I'll be happy, but there's still more work to do, and that's just kind of where the Ravens, I think, have set the standard for. We have talked about it, Sutton. Like we say we don't care. Obviously, we care about the regular season, but we cannot put a bunch of stock into it when we lose games like we do against the Bills. If we do it against the Chiefs, if we do it against the good teams in the league, you cannot put that much stock in this team. So you got to take it one game at a time. Hope they go out there. But you bring up, Flacco. I won 5 to 6 sacks because that pass rush yesterday was embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. I hope.
Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney. Hi, how are you doing? What are you up to? You obviously don't like training camp, and that's fine. I get it. Man. I wouldn't want to work out extra either. I'm 100% with it, but I would love to have him on this team and help out pass rushing because there was little to nothing yesterday.
Nothing.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of the pass rush, I do just want to briefly bring this up on screen here whenever it transitions. But the pass rush numbers here, and this is courtesy of our guy Cole Jackson FB, who should be on the show soon. I got to reach out to him. But he says pressures by the Ravens defense, 59 pass blocking and 32 true pass sets. You got 5 pressures from Nnamdi Madubuike last night, which was evident. It showed up. Honestly, Nnamdi Madubuike was wreaking havoc, in the interior. It was just a shame that we couldn't get the same thing coming from the outside on a consistent basis. But if you see here, having 2 pressures apiece, Aeneas Peebles, who actually had a couple good reps. He put a couple good reps on film yesterday, I thought. Adafe Owe had 2. Travis Jones had 2 himself, and then Kyle Van Noy. And then at 1 apiece, Tavius Robinson, Trenton Simpson, Kyle Hamilton, and Broderick Washington. And then with 0, Mike Green on 14 pass rush snaps and 10 true pass sets. So, I mean, I agree with my guy Alex, the fact that the pass rush was basically non-existent in the biggest moments. And that's been kind of like the one, I guess you could say, caveat about this Ravens pass rush, because they've been top 2 in the league in sacks the past 2 seasons, right? But it's not about the amount of sacks, it's when they're getting these sacks. And that's why I got to tip my cap to Nnamdi Madubuike. He did have a late game sack yesterday that I thought that was going to be very, very impactful. Just ends up the Ravens couldn't do anything on offense, right? They ended up having the fumble, things like that. The rest was history. But I wanted to also, and well, actually, you know what? I'm going to toss it to you, Engraven. What do you think about this Ravens pass rush? Because obviously last night's game, it was pretty much non-existent. We didn't really see anything. Are you of the same school of thought with Alex that the Ravens should go out and pursue a free agent edge rusher, maybe a Jadeveon Clowney?
Oh man, we've been talking about him all offseason. That's our guy, man. I've been waiting for them to bring in Jadeveon Clowney. Like, and people would say, "Oh, well, he's gonna take away snaps from the young guy. Take away snaps from what we just saw last night." But no, but seriously, I would love if they did that. Now, what I will say, with Josh Allen, he presents a different kind of challenge than a lot of quarterbacks do, especially against the Baltimore Ravens. With Josh Allen, they cannot bring him down. They can't. They struggle with it so much. Even in the win last year too, well, in the regular season, but certainly in the playoffs, obviously. But they struggle to get him down because he's such an annoying quarterback. Because Josh Allen, he will step up and he'll wait. You think, oh, the pass rushers, they're getting close to him. And then last second, he'll throw it, boom, big play, big completion. Or sometimes he'll take off too. So I feel like the pass rush, they play him a lot differently than they play a lot of other quarterbacks. So again, with Joe Flacco, he's not Josh Allen. He ain't going to be moving around like Josh Allen or anything like that. So I expect the pass rush to look a whole lot better this week than they did against the Bills. But it's certainly an issue. Now, when it comes to mobile quarterbacks, the best way to really throw them off of their game is to be able to get interior pressure. And that's something that the Baltimore Ravens they weren't able to do it enough. But the Bills, I mean, you see Lamar Jackson, the best quarterback in the league and the best mobile quarterback in the league. They were able to get that pressure on him. Like y'all mentioned earlier, Ed Oliver was just going crazy, man. All game long, he was making plays throughout, and he was making the clutch plays too to be able to close the game. That he the one that had the forced fumble too, right? Wasn't it him?
Ed Oliver, yeah.
That don't make no sense.
Derrick Henry tried to stiff arm him because he beat Roger Rosengarten around the block, and Ed Oliver was right in Derrick Henry's face, and he stripped the ball from him. Yeah, he made multiple plays. It was that one, and then when he essentially knocked Lamar Jackson out of the game. Basically made Lamar Jackson not want to go for it on fourth down, which is not Lamar Jackson-ish at all. You know what I mean? That's not like Lamar Jackson. So Ed Oliver just completely he literally wrecked the game. Yeah. Now we did get a super chat donation here. This one from Rod Wave. Thank you so much for donating to the channel, brother. We appreciate you dropping the 5-piece in the chat. He says Nnamdi Madubuike is overrated, and Josh threw for over 40 times, and we only got 1 sack. He is not a game wrecker. Rod, again, appreciate the super chat donation. But let me tell you this, though. It is not Nnamdi Madubuike's primary responsibility to sack the quarterback. That is not the primary responsibility of an interior D lineman, right? That's why the edge rushers get put at a more premium price when it's time for them to get paid, because that's what they're paid to do, is sack the quarterback, you know? But the fact that Nnamdi Madubuike rushing from the inside, and it's looking like if last night's performance from Madubuike was indicative of what we're going to get for the rest of the season from him, he might have another one of those double-digit sack seasons as an interior D lineman, which is absolutely insane. So I don't think it's very fair for you, Rod Wave, to say that he's overrated, because I totally disagree with that. You need guys on those outsides, right? You need a Owe who, honestly, it seems like Owe is just stuck in contain rushing every single play. Is that crazy to say? Like he kind of like cage rushes, right? He's trying to box in Josh Allen, not break contain, and I appreciate that, but there's just a lack of pressure that comes with that as well. It just seems like he's kind of like just glued to his guy for seconds at a time, and that is not like my guy ISO says in the chat. Owe is not it. I think there's no way that Owe plays another season with the Baltimore Ravens after this year.
Oh wow,
that's what I think.
I almost spit my water out there. That was a good one.
I'm just saying, man. By the way, I see my guy Ramey in the chat. What's going on, Ramey? Appreciate you for coming through.
What's up?
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of times where I think he overran Allen as well, which gave Allen a free lane to just run. And then as for the fourth quarter, Josh was getting them balls out quick, I think, at a point, and there's times where he was just making things happen. Like Engraven said, this Josh Allen geezer, man. Like it's if Big Ben had legs. It really feels like that sometimes. You got to take more than one guy to take him down, and even when you get to him, you got to get another guy to help take him down. So I think. I understand what you're saying with the overrated. I think for what he's making, you want more out of him, i.e. what we've seen Chris Jones do in the past couple of years. I'm cool with that. So, but there's a point where he's doing his job and the guys on the outside aren't helping. I thought Van Noy was a little bit non-existent for my liking. It was just cardio, it felt like, at points. So, right now I'm just running around. All right? Right now I'm just running around. So, I've been there too, playing sports. I've been doing cardio as well. We've all been there, so
it'd be like that.
It does,
and that's Unk. That's Unk too. You know what I'm saying?
Unk University.
Unk University. That's what he likes to go by. And Kyle Van Noy, he's been very good for the Ravens. I definitely think he did turn back the clocks when he came to Baltimore. Having 12.5 sacks last season, being top 5 in that category was something that was not on, I think, anybody's bingo card going into last season. And honestly, I still think to this day most people don't know that he was top 5 in sacks last year. But let's go ahead and move on here. I want to bring up something else. Speaking of guys that we want more out of, that we paid a bunch of money, let's talk about some linebackers really quick. Shall we? Let's talk some linebackers, because Alex is leaving the set. But no, I mean, like Roquan Smith. Let's start there, right? Because the Trent Simpson and then Buchanan, I want to get into that as well. They're very interesting developments coming out of those two guys yesterday. But Roquan Smith yesterday, in multiple spots, he looked slow. He looked weak at the point of attack, and he was getting washed out of plays way too much for my liking. There was a play where, and I'm sure you guys remember this, I think it was right before the half, right? And I want to say it was a run to Khalil Shakir. It was a handoff to Khalil Shakir, of all guys, right? Crazy stuff. Roquan Smith gets completely washed out of the play from the I think it was the right guard who just immediately gets up to the second level. Roquan can do nothing about it, and we're forcing Kyle Hamilton to make that tackle after Khalil Shakir has already picked up the first down. That was one play. The biggest one for me, which is probably the biggest one for you guys too, was 100%, 1,000% that James Cook run. That James Cook run was absolutely it was asinine to me, the way that Roquan Smith had the angle on James Cook. James Cook had to do a little bit of a stutter move to get away from Marlon Humphrey, which was kind of leading him right into Roquan Smith. Now, I get it. James Cook as a running back, he's supposed to be faster than Roquan Smith. But Roquan had the angle. He got hands on him. And James Cook treated Roquan Smith like Derrick Henry treats everybody, with a stiff arm. And I was dumbfounded, right? Because Roquan Smith gets stiff-armed into the ground on that play. So I want to, and Raven, we'll start with you on this one. What are your current thoughts on Roquan Smith? Do you feel like he can turn it around? Do you feel like it's time? Maybe you feel like his days are numbered in Baltimore. How are you feeling about Roquan Smith right now?
It's been rough. It's been a challenge with Roquan Smith, and I think he really misses Patrick Queen. Because I saw somebody say yesterday, and I was like, man, that's such a great question. They said, when the last time Roquan Smith made a game-changing play? And I was like, I couldn't think of it. And with Roquan Smith, obviously he's one of the highest paid linebackers in the league. But we just want to see more from Roquan Smith. Yeah, that pass to James Cook. First Marlon Humphrey missed a tackle. Then Roquan Smith looked like, oh yeah, he got it. Nope, he missed a tackle too. And it was like, man, what is going on? And you know how football is just such a game of inches. And Roquan, he missed a tackle by that much. Well, really it was that much, but that ended up making a 4 or 5 yard play go for 50. Now, real quick, and I'm going to get right back to Roquan Smith. I will say on that same play, I got to give a lot of credit to both Malachi Starks and Nate Wiggins. Because as we've seen so many times, not just from the but just around the NFL, most guys, when James Cook is running and he gets in that position where he's right by the end zone, most of them would just give up and be like, oh, he's going to get a touchdown. But Malachi Starks kept chasing him. And then Nate Wiggins kept chasing him. Malachi Starks tried to get him and missed, but Nate Wiggins ended up tackling him at the 2 yard line. So that was a very, very nice effort from both of them not giving up on the play. But with Roquan Smith, we just want to see more from him. I just feel like we haven't seen enough. I really thought, and again, it's one game so far. We'll see how things progress. But I really thought coming into this season that he was going to look a lot faster. I remember watching an interview that he did on NFL Network maybe like a month and a half ago with Aditi Kikumbwawa, and she was speaking to him, and he was talking about Malachi Starks and stuff, but I was just looking at his face, and I'm like, man, he looks like a little bit slimmer. He looked a little bit slimmer in the face and whatnot, so I'm like, oh, man, he might pick up some speed. He might be a little bit faster. Oh, and I don't know if y'all remember the report, too, from early on in training camp where they say Roquan Smith, Justice Hill or Key. No, it's Justice Hill. They said Justice Hill ran a wheel route. And Lamar threw it to him, and they said Roquan Smith ran with Justice Hill, stride for stride, and broke up the pass. And that was early on in training camp, so I'm like, oh, hey, we got a brand new Roquan Smith, man. But then, and again, it's just been one game so far, but it's been one game so far this season, but we still could go back to last season. And it's just, we just want more from Roquan Smith. Obviously, he gets 1,000,001 tackles. But we just want the game-changing plays from our starting inside linebacker, who is making a boatload of money. Somebody who I would compare him to, Kyle Hamilton. I feel like if we had 11 Kyle Hamiltons, we'd be amazing. We would be set on defense for sure.
Talk about it.
Because he is somebody that not only makes the bread now, $100 million man, but he's somebody that's well worth it. Makes the game-changing plays. And I didn't realize, watching it last night at the very end of the game when they kicked the field goal to win, I did not realize, and I know Simply you brought it up earlier, just how close Kyle Hamilton was to making that play. And I know close don't count, but still, I did not realize that. And I was just like, man, he really almost saved the day for the Ravens. But Kyle Hamilton is all over the place, man. But we see a lot out of him everywhere. But we just want to see more from Roquan Smith. That's it, man.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, 100%.
Nope.
Go
Shout out
ahead
to the
and
dog.
yeah. Shout out to my dog. He's in the room right now, barking at whatever. I think he's just mad about the Ravens taking the L last night, just as much as we are. You know how it be. Ramey in the house. What's going on? Ramey says that James Cook catch and run gave me those vibes of Kelsey in that 2021 Chiefs game where we had Jelly Ellis chasing him down the field and defenders diving at his legs. Yeah, where Kelsey's just rumbling
Respect.
through defenders. I'll never forget that call. It was terrible, man. It was terrible, but it did feel like that. It did feel like that in last night's game. Man, that was a tough loss, man. But what I got in front of you guys right now is the snap count and percentages, and something that really stood out to me. Right, we're talking about linebackers. While we're on that subject, if you notice here, Teddy Buchanan actually outsnapped Trenton Simpson last night. Wasn't by much, but it was by 3 snaps. But that kind of was interesting to me. I don't know if that means that the Ravens like what they're getting from Buchanan a little bit more than what they're getting from Trenton Simpson. I think there was a couple plays Trenton Simpson had made yesterday that were pretty good. But Teddy Buchanan as well is another guy who, like, I think has a lot of promise. But what do you guys think about Teddy Buchanan in the snap count breakdown right here?
Well,
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
no, you're good.
I like what I saw from him. I think he was closing down lanes, making tackles. Times where he needed somebody else to finish the tackle, but he's holding them where they're at. Wasn't overrunning plays, I'd say. I think was doing what he was asked. Good, not great, but for a 4th-round pick, I'm not mad at that at all. As for Trenton Simpson, I know we weren't talking about him, but kind of a rough game altogether. I don't think played bad on defense, but the one play we're all gonna remember: special teams. The sliding on the ball. Now it's a touchback. Could have been down at the 1. But for a 4th-round pick and your first game in Buffalo in a hostile environment, I was very pleased with Mr. Teddy Buchanan. So hopefully he can make an impact on this team. But right now it's looking pretty good. So I think he has earned more snaps next week, and hopefully he can make him there. Maybe make a game change and play. Who knows?
Hey, yeah, that's real. With Teddy Buchanan, when the Ravens first drafted him, so many analysts said, "Oh, this is somebody who could probably start from day one." And when you hear something like that, that's commendable, especially like Simply said, as a 4th-round pick. But then I was thinking, nah, this is really gonna be Trenton Simpson's job. The Ravens, they really like him, and they tried it out last year. It ain't work out. They benched him, but they're gonna run it back this year. And yeah, early on they did, but then you started to look around and say, hold up, what happened to 32? Where'd he go? But we did see that number 40 out there on the field. So I do think that this is a sign that the Ravens are shifting in the Teddy Buchanan direction, and Trenton Simpson is going to sort of take a back seat to him. Obviously, we'll be able to tell more once this Brown game starts. But it's that's significant, man. That really is significant that a rookie outsnapped Trent Simpson's in his 3rd year. Yeah, 3rd year.
Yeah. Yep.
In a rookie, he's out snapping you in the very first game too for the Baltimore. That says so much about how much the Baltimore Ravens they really put in a lot of trust in a 4th-round rookie linebacker over somebody who's in their 3rd year. He's out snapping you. That says a lot about how they feel about Teddy Buchanan, but it also says a lot about how they feel about Trenton Simpson. So for Trenton Simpson, I don't think it's a good look. But it's looking like he's gonna be relegated back to a backup in special teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. Rod Wave says Teddy made mistakes too, for sure. And it's actually funny enough, Trenton Simpson actually graded as a top 5 defensive player according to PFF last night on the Ravens. And actually, I didn't read through that top 5 for defensive players. Kyle Hamilton, I did say that one. He was number 1 at 93.4 grade. 84.8 grade was gotten by Nnamdi Madubuike. So Nnamdi Madubuike, of course, with 5 pressures. He had a sack last night. He played really well. Travis Jones followed that up with an 81.1 score, followed by Trenton Simpson, 75.4. And then Roquan Smith at 71.3. And, of course, I think that, of course, has a lot to do with the tackles, things like that. I can't remember exactly how many tackles he finished with last night. But in the biggest of moments, like my guy Engraven said, where is Roquan Smith? I mean, it's just much like where is Odafe Owe? Where is Kyle Van Noy? When the going really gets tough, these guys are milk carton men. I mean, they're on milk cartons. Like, it's just we have no idea where they are. No idea. Ramey says, when Trent was drafted, I really thought he was going to take on that Tyus Bowser, Sam Backer role, but just never happened that way. I thought the same thing. I was of the exact same school of thought, bro. But and especially after that Steelers game, you guys remember that Steelers game?
Mm-hmm.
As when
Yep.
Trenton Simpson's rookie year,
Oh,
where
Yep.
he has the big tackle in the backfield. I made a whole video about that, and it looked like things were looking up for
Mm-hmm.
that position for the future for the Ravens. But we'll continue to see. Of course, the season is still very early. It's still very young. So, of course, while the Ravens fans, we have our frustrations, and we're going to hold our head on a day like this because you're not supposed to lose to teams less talented than you that consistently. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think it kind of full circle comes back to coaching. Like at some point, and I'm so glad Lamar Jackson had a great game last night. I'm so glad he had a great game. I'm so glad he didn't have that crazy turnover that where the whole entire media could just snap their fingers and say, "Hey, look, that was the reason why the Ravens lost. It was Lamar Jackson," but it was not. It was not Lamar Jackson in any way, shape, or form last night. And all you can really do is attribute it to, really the defense and the coaching as well. And Rodney Harrison brought that up in the video we watched earlier. I saw multiple other people talk about that as well. And I think I led the episode with that crazy stat about John Harbaugh. And I don't think you were in here yet, Engraven, when we said this, but John Harbaugh has blown 17 double-digit second-half leads. That is the most by any coach since at least 1991.
Yeah,
The
that's
most by any coach.
historic. We got his history on our side right there with that one, man.
History on our side. But I'm glad we're getting this out right now.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're getting this out.
You
Go
brought
ahead,
up the
Alex.
whole Lamar played perfect, and I
Yeah.
put kind of like not really my brand a tweet out today about a certain Nick Wright, because this guy, all right, this guy has a way to make everything about Lamar. I don't know what Lamar did to him. I know what he did to him, but he was basically saying like this is why he's never going to win a championship. I don't know how you can look at Lamar's performance last night and somehow put it on him. Like you said, not one errant throw. I think he threw the ball away, or if he did throw it, I think the one was to Zay Flowers in the back of the end zone. Only he would have caught it. Running, kept the ball close to him, no fumbles, nothing like that. And to sit here and somehow, it come back on him, I just kind of sat there and accepted, like, no matter what he does, I knew this already, but after last night, I'm like, all right, no matter what happens, man, it's just never going to be enough. So it sucks because it feels like it's
Yeah.
targeted sometimes. I mean, it is targeted. I'm not. It doesn't feel it is targeted. It's just
For
it's
sure.
just frustrating.
It's his brand. It's his brand to kind of hate on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, which is funny enough
like-
because his son actually is a fan of the Ravens and Lamar, which is
Oh,
weird.
really?
I don't know. Yeah.
And that's my thing. Like I thought back, I grew up watching, not to get like 2000s like NFL Network,
Okay.
Dion,
Yeah.
Rich Eisen. You never had just like the pure bias of disliking a player or a team. It was always just non-biased journalism. And now you turn on the TV, it's just they pick on the same players nonstop. And I'm saying, not as a Ravens fan, Caleb Williams, I think he gets way too much hate. That's another guy. So it's just like I just hate the way the media has gone, unfortunately, in the big 2025. Sorry to.
Well,
rant.
yeah, it's an attention economy. So like the hot take artists and whatnot, like that is what gets the clicks. That's what gets the engagement, and ultimately what brings in the money. So I can understand it from that standpoint. But you brought up Nick Wright, and this is funny to me because his whole take today was that he's quote unquote closing the book on the Harbaugh and Lamar combo. And honestly, if you don't dig too deep into his takes, if you don't listen too much, if you just take that for face value and for what it is, it's not that far off, right? I think about it this way, guys. For the first, what was it, 5 years of Lamar Jackson's career, I want to say it was the first 5 years or 4 years maybe. Lamar Jackson had Greg Roman as an offensive coordinator, right? And for so long, so many of us Ravens fans said that in order for Lamar Jackson to unlock his game and take it to the next level, he needs to essentially graduate from the coaching of Greg Roman to an offensive coach who can literally like let him take reins of the offense and do everything, right? Because it came out recently, Greg Roman was not letting Lamar Jackson do a lot of things with the offense, right? Very, very controlled. I think you could say the same thing. You can make the same argument about a John Harbaugh. And the reason being is because I don't think that Lamar Jackson has the leadership qualities and skills, at least not consistently, like not all the time, to be that number one voice in the locker room. It's just not necessarily who he is. Lamar Jackson leads by example. You know what I mean? He's very talented, not very vocal. Just like, the best player on the defense, Kyle Hamilton, very talented, not very vocal, right? Kind of quiet, soft spoken. You got John Harbaugh, who's a CEO head coach. He's not specializing on offense. He's not specializing on defense. He's a special teams guy. You know what I mean? He specializes in special teams. So I think that if Lamar Jackson would benefit from having an offensive minded head coach and a guy who all 53 players are going to wake up and absolutely want to run through a wall for him, like a Mike Tomlin, like a Mike Vrabel. I'm just naming some names here who are like kind of like, tough guys, some guys who actually display that leadership up front and guys buy into it, right? There were multiple times last season when the Ravens were on their little skid, right? Around the time where they were, they lost to the Eagles. They lost a game a couple of weeks before that as well. They were on a little skid. And it seemed like Harb's words were falling on deaf ears, right? So I think that, with Lamar Jackson being where he is now in his career, he would benefit so much more from having a coach who's more of a leader and more of an offensive mind. I think that they kind of solved the whole offensive minded coach thing by bringing in a Todd Monken, but there's still a lack of leadership. There's still a lack of a dog in that locker room. You guys remember Ray Lewis. You guys remember Ed Reed. You guys remember all those guys from that last Super Bowl team. Those were the guys who stood up and stood out and actually, willed their team to a Super Bowl, even in the face of adversity. I don't see anybody standing up in the locker room like that right now. So I kind of agree with Nick Wright on that front. Like, maybe the Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh combo has gotten stale. Yes, he ushered him into the league, but now it's time for him to graduate to a coach that's more suited for the 2025 Lamar Jackson. Is that crazy to say?
I don't think so. I don't think it's crazy to say at all, especially because it's not like we just have this small sample size of John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. No, we have had an extended look at those two's relationship. 2018, Lamar got drafted. The offensive coordinator was Marty Mornhinweg. Then 2019 through 2020, 2021, and 2022, it was Greg Roman. And yeah, so many fans were calling for it, like, hey, it's time. We could move on. But there were a lot of people saying, oh, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all just fans. Fans stay in a fan's place. Just saying it. Hey, no, Lamar could do so much more. And there were a lot of people saying, oh, no, man, Greg Roman made Lamar. If it wasn't for Greg Roman, then Lamar wouldn't be Lamar Jackson. Okay, cool. And we saw how the offense just was flat. But and then of course with Todd Monken, the offense has just graduated to new levels and new heights, and it's been amazing. And I love how they are able to develop their own weapons, their own in-house guys. They still could bring in some outside guys too, but they know how to develop their own in-house guys, which has been nice, especially at the wide receiver position. Just seeing how Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman have just grown so much, and they are Ravens picks. They're not free agents. They're not guys that Ravens traded for, but Ravens drafted them. They're their own guys. It's crazy, man. But it's again, it's not. We haven't just seen John Harbaugh and Lamar for 1 or 2 years. It's been since 2018, and they keep coming up short. Yeah. So Lamar has already shown, like, hey, every time you give me a new offensive coordinator, all I do is just win another MVP. So could it be that maybe he just? I hope not, because we want it to happen this year. But could it be to where he's waiting to, like, all right, first time I had a new offensive coordinator in 2019, won an MVP. Next time I had a new offensive coordinator in 2023, won an MVP. You know what? Take it up a notch. Give me a new head coach and I'll win the Super Bowl. But hopefully he ain't got to wait for a new head coach to do that, and they could get that done this year. I still got faith in them Ravens to make it happen, man.
LH says, I don't think John wants a strong voice in the locker room. And this is something that's long been discussed. It came out, I think Anquan Bolden talked about it a couple of months ago. He said that there was a come to Jesus moment between the players and the coaching staff on that 2012 Ravens team.
Oh yeah, he did.
And basically, they were not in agreement with a lot of stuff. I think that John Harbaugh did not necessarily like the fact that he felt like the team was slipping away from his grip with guys who were so headstrong, like a Ray Lewis, like a Anquan, like an Ed, all those guys. You know what I mean? And so now that Harbaugh has all the talent in the world, without that same kind of like vocal dog that he has to deal with, I think Harbaugh's in heaven, to be honest with you. Just got an extension. He's got Lamar Jackson protecting his job. You know what I mean? You can always point to something that wasn't executed correctly on the field as to the reason why the Ravens lose. It never has to go back to Harbaugh, which is, again, I'm glad he's kind of getting the flack now. But I think LH makes a really good point here. I don't think that John necessarily wants that strong voice in the locker room because right now things are better than they've ever been. They haven't gotten to the Super Bowl yet, but I mean, he's not getting challenged. He's also got one of the best rosters in the league. Just got extended, so Harbaugh's chilling, right, guys?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. With real quick, as far as the strong voice, I know a lot of Ravens fans, especially whenever they see Ray Lewis come to one of the Ravens games or talk to the team, they be like, man, why we won't just hire Ray Lewis as like a linebacker coach or something like that? Whenever they see Ed Reed somewhere, oh man, Ed Reed could be our defensive back coach. And I'm thinking like, you think John Harbaugh is going to hire Ray Lewis or Ed Reed to be on the same coaching staff with him? Never. He will never, ever, ever do that because obviously with Ray Lewis, if he's in the vicinity of the Baltimore Ravens, like every time he come visit, everybody just goes and flocks to him. They're going to follow him. They're going to be listening to him. Hey, Ray Lewis, it's Ray Lewis, man. He done did so much. He done accomplished so much. One of the best linebackers ever. Some people could say the best linebacker to ever do it. And then the same with Ed Reed, just at the safety position. But that would just be too much of a strong voice on the staff with a John Harbaugh. Now, has he hired other players before? Yeah, Jamil McClain, Anthony Levine's on the staff now. Obviously, Zach Orr, Anthony Weaver. So he'll bring in former players, but he said, hold on, if you want to be a former player, you're going to be on my coaching staff, you better be quiet. Don't say nothing. Don't be no loudmouth. You can't be outspoken. You got to be a chill, relaxed, calm kind of guy. And that's what every former player that he's brought on has been. So Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, those definitely ain't never happening under Harbaugh.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely not. Real quick, before we wrap up here, because we've talked about a lot of negative stuff, right? A lot of bad stuff as it pertains to the Ravens. I want to end it with some silver linings. So some things that you saw in last night's loss, right? That really, really give you hope for the Ravens to actually have a strong 2025 season. And I'll start. I thought that last night we were gonna see more of. Well, actually, you know what? Let me start with this. Actually, you know what? Scrap that real quick, because I got to bring up one more thing.
Uh-oh.
Where the hell was Mark Andrews last night?
Ooh.
What happened to Mark Andrews? Because not only did I have him on a parlay to catch over 3.5 catches,
All right, I see why you said that.
he only had one catch. He had a
Yeah.
really good block that sprung Lamar Jackson into the end zone. I'm not worried about the parlay. That's a joke. But I'm saying, like, I was expecting Mark Andrews to be a much bigger factor in this game. You know what I mean? Like, late downs, you know what I mean? Like, converting third downs, things like that. Like, he was nowhere to be found for the most part, right? Like, are we at all concerned that Mark Andrews is kind of gone by the wayside and this is, you know, he's not going to have a good last season?
I'm not.
You're not
I just
concerned?
don't think that was in the game plan. Zay Flowers was the guy last night. And I think Lamar knew that was the hot hand. And like I said, that looked like a whole different Zay that we saw last year and the year before. Running north, I loved it. So hot hand for him. I just don't think it was a tight end's game for him. So I think he'll be fine. He'll score against the Browns. He loves the game against the Browns, but he won't be obviously 2019, 2020, 21 mark, but he'll still put up solid numbers. I'm not worried whatsoever. To answer your question.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to worry about Mark Andrews. He had a quiet game against the Bills, but he usually has quiet games against the Bills. And obviously his last game before this one against the Bills was loud, but for all the wrong reasons. But like Simply said, Browns, that's Mark Andrews' game right there. That's where he usually be.
CBS.
Oh, yeah, that's where he be running it up there. So Mark Andrews will be fine. And then, hopefully on Wednesday, we see number 80 out there because you don't post them clips on Instagram and all that for no reason. So Isaiah Likely, we know what you're doing. You ain't slick.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. I think Isaiah Likely could be back by week 3. That was my prediction going into the season. I'm sticking by that. I think he stays out one more week, and then is it Monday Night Football? We play the Lions.
Yep. It sure is.
Monday Night Football. I think he makes his season debut there. But just kind of getting into the silver linings again. I'll start really quick. Then I'll toss it to you, Engraven. Then Alex, you give yours too. Cool. And I know you already brought up Zay Flowers because Zay Flowers was one of mine, but also DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy who that touchdown catch last night, and let's not even talk about the throw from Lamar Jackson, double coverage up the sideline in the end zone, over the shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
I that was beautiful. And of course, it's getting overshadowed because the Ravens lost that game. But I thought that did a lot of confidence. That instilled a lot of confidence for Lamar Jackson in D Hop, and I think that he's kind of, I don't want to say slowly but surely, making a case to climb the totem pole in terms of receiver hierarchy. We'll have to see how the 1 p.m. CBS game goes, because that's a staple game for a lot of different Ravens. You know what I mean? So if he
Mm-hmm.
can show up in that game and really do his thing, then I think that we're looking at probably, and we talked about this over the offseason, and Graven, let us know if you agree. You might not be able to, kind of recall it off the top of your head, but we think that the Ravens arguably have a top 10 receiving core in this league, wide receiver core. Like pound for pound, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and DeAndre Hopkins. You have a hard time naming 10 to, I'd say 12, being, generous, 10 to 12 wide receiver rooms that are better legitimately than the Baltimore Ravens. And again, I thought that D Hop making that touchdown last night, that was huge. Zay,
Mm-hmm.
I looked up, he had 7 catches for what, a buck 43, something like that. That was huge. Love what I saw from him. Bateman had a quiet day, but I fully expect Bateman to get in the end zone soon, very soon here. But what are some other silver linings from you and Graven that you took from this game?
This game, we knew going into this game that we were going to be without Isaiah Likely, but then Pat Ricard, he had missed a lot of practice time toward the end of training camp and the end of preseason and stuff. So his calf strain has been a lot worse than we anticipated. So he didn't
Yeah.
play in this game either. So I was expecting, all right, Charlie Cola, he's going to have a breakout game for the Baltimore Ravens. But he didn't. But then even going into the game, I was like, oh, no Pat Ricard, they're gonna call up Lucas Scott. They didn't. So I
Nope.
was just wrong about a million different things right there. But I gotta give a special shout out to Zaire Mitchell Payton, the tight end slash fullback, because he was in there a good amount of times. And he was helping lead the way. He was in there playing a lot of fullback too. So I was like, I was impressed because as we saw, the Ravens run game, it continued. It picked up right where it left off last year. Derrick Henry was just obviously killing it out. Obviously, Zaire wasn't out there for all the running plays with Derrick Henry, but still, when he was out there, he did what he had to do. So it was very, very nice to see that. And somebody else who he had a very quiet game, but that's exactly what you want from somebody who plays his position.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Stanley. You didn't hear a peep
Yeah.
out of Ronnie
Yeah.
Stanley. You didn't hear nothing from him. Oh, no, false start, right? Nope, nothing on 79. Oh, holding on. Nope, not on 79. Ronnie Stanley, and I got to go back to last year for Ronnie Stanley because a lot of us wrote him off. I was for sure going into last season that last year was going to be his last year with the Baltimore Ravens. Like, man, this dude, ever since they signed him to that big contract, even before that, he just ain't been able to stay healthy. So what did he do? He took a pay reduction. Because a lot of times when you hear about, oh, this player restructured his contract, it's not a pay reduction. They just moved some money around. But Ronnie Stanley actually took a pay reduction and had a lot of his money put into incentives. He had a lot of money put into him being active on game day, his playtime and stuff. And he earned it. And he played every single game, every snap, played in every playoff game. He did his thing last year. And the Ravens said, all right, you got us, so we got you. 3-year contract. And this first game, excellent. You ain't hear nothing from him. Nothing. So I was very, very happy to see Ronnie Stanley just out there quiet. Well, quiet in a good way as offensive lineman. Because if you keep hearing about offensive linemen, that ain't never a good thing. Because we kept hearing about some other ones. So, yeah. So, again, Zaire, Mitchell Payton, and Ronnie Stanley. Those will be who I would give the shout out to.
Yeah. And Alex, before you bring us home here, you mentioned, Engraven, you mentioned offensive linemen. When you hear their name called a lot, that's normally not a good thing. I know you guys have seen the video going all over Twitter today of Daniel Falele basically playing Ring Around the Rosie, right? And just turning in circles. It did not look good. It didn't look like he was able to find any work. It didn't look like he was even fast enough to get to where the other offensive linemen were. It just did not look good at all. So hopefully, again, we know Daniel Falele, he is very inconsistent, but he's a serviceable guard. He's a serviceable guard who has very loud losses. So we'll have to just continue to monitor his progress. Again, like my guy Alex said at the top of the show, it's his job to lose, and I don't even think it's his job to lose. I just think it's straight up his job to keep. I don't see him doing anything that the Ravens will say, okay, look, we got to go in a different direction here. But I don't want to spend too much time on 77. Alex, go ahead and bring us home because we do have Monday Night Football getting ready to come on in a few minutes. Who was your silver lining from yesterday's game?
We kind of said everybody. I'll throw in Peebles, Aeneas Peebles. I think he had the two pressures.
Yeah.
I think had a deflected pass for a 6th-round pick. That's
Yeah.
very, very good. I mean, I'm not mad at that
depth.
whatsoever. I think something you can build on. Speaking for his case, it sucks that Broderick Washington also had a pass deflected because maybe that's who you're fighting to take snaps from. But when our depth guys like that are making plays, always good to see. Running through obviously Hamilton, Flowers, everybody we said. Defense is kind of hard to pick who had a good game when you give up 41 points, but I'll try to Peebles and Hamilton and some of Woozy. I was happy with him with the way he played.
Yeah.
Didn't give up that many yards, but all in all, there are silver linings. On to week 2, on to the Browns, and hopefully we can get over this and maybe come back. And maybe my prediction, we'll see them in the playoffs again in Buffalo, and we'll do what we did at Dallas Cowboys. We'll turn the lights off on our behalf, enjoy the new stadium. I do want to see the Bills again, but in Buffalo once again. I want to shut them out and close the stadium.
All right. Well, yeah, you heard it here first. That is going to do it from us here at the Purple Rain Podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out on this episode 332 of PRP. Go ahead and give it up for yourselves, man. It's been a great one. Also, our guy Engraven came through and really chopped it up with us for the past hour. And we appreciate you for that. I didn't even realize time had been going that quick, but time flies when you're venting, right? When you're having a therapy session, right? You ever been to therapy? I've never personally been to therapy yet. I probably need to go. But I would assume that time flies when you're sitting in that chair because you're just kind of getting everything off your chest, right? And before you know it, it's whatever time. But we appreciate you stopping by, Engraven.
Real quick. No, you have been to therapy. You are a Baltimore Ravens fan, and you have a YouTube channel where you speak about this team. You done been to therapy before. So, yeah, for sure.
You're right. I was getting my therapy all day, actually, because when the Ravens lose, I don't watch any national media for the most part. I just listen to Ravens content creators. That's it, because I know that we understand us better than anybody else, and we're not going to be biased towards us. Well, we are, but it's more comforting. It's like comfort content, you know what I mean? The day after a loss. So,
Okay.
But yeah, again, Engraven, we appreciate you for coming on. As always,
sure,
you've
man.
been awesome. Hopefully we can get you on a couple of different times throughout this season. If you're cool with that, I'll hit you up, and we'll see if we can work something out.
Cool, man. I appreciate y'all, man.
Of course. And with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out of this episode.
Yeah, thank you for coming through episode 332 of the Purple Rain Podcast. Love you, appreciate you, stay positive, and always test freaking negative.
Yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This is episode 332 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.